I see you always give homage to her on social media. It's cool to see that, man. It's in the world we live in and everything else, man. When you see that, you don't see it too often anymore.
I like to keep it simple.
Yeah,
you know
good for you.
mean? So
that's awesome.
How's the day going?
It's good, man. It's good. Just was home for the holidays. Kind of haven't been on the road a ton, so it feels good to be back at it. And travel season starts from now until basically May, so I'm pumped. I'm feeling good.
So travel season, what all does that incorporate for?
Just different events. Art Basel's next week in Miami, so I got a bunch of pretty cool events. I got invited to that Patrick Bet-David's. He's got a big event next Thursday.
You got to get me plugged in with him. I'll do anything. I was with Bob Menery, and I was like, get him on the phone. He got him on the phone, but we didn't get to fully connect. So I'm just trying to throw money at it, and I've been talking to one of his assistant sales people or something like that. But I'd love to get plugged in.
I'm
with
really
Patrick
close with his assistant.
Yeah.
And she's the one that invited me. I do suits for her brother, actually. Yeah. So we've been trying to get connected to kind of get that network going. So it's next Thursday night, so I'm looking forward to that.
Let's go.
And then just kind of getting out of the cold and heading down to Florida. We're expanding to Florida.
Yeah.
So we're going to open up a location in Lauderdale at some point in the next year. So I'm kind of scouting locations, kind of just building the business now we're down there. So
that's awesome. The winter operation.
Yeah,
that's kind of our plan as well. Miami and Dallas. I spent a significant amount of time in Dallas this year. I'm going back down for the Cowboys game.
Oh, nice, man.
The 9th. They'll play the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one then.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Awesome, man.
Awesome. So we were talking about fasting. You know what I mean? You just completed a 72-hour fast.
Yep.
When was that? A couple weeks ago?
Last week. Wednesday before Thanksgiving is when I finished up. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Evening.
Yeah.
It was great, man.
Timed it.
It was one of those things where I saw Dana White talking about it or whatever, and it just made me start thinking, like, I'm ready for a challenge. I'm ready to kind of just do something else, add it to my life.
Yeah.
And about 24 hours in, I was like, went through this like delirious stage, and I had like this natural high, which was kind of wild.
Still there, yeah.
And then, day 2, day 3, you just start getting used to it, and you realize you eat stuff you don't really need to, and sometimes I just go to grab a coffee or food just out of habit, out of boredom. And it really started sharpening my mind to reflect on life, success, the future, planning. It was a pretty surreal experience. And then the mental battle of just sticking with something and doing it.
Yeah.
Holding yourself accountable.
That's what I keep telling myself. It'll be 48 hours in 2 hours. So I'm 46 hours in right now. And I just keep telling myself, because I feel like I still have that delirious kind of, stage in right now. But I keep reminding myself, like, man, what if we went to like war or something got very extreme? Like, would I have the mental fortitude and endurability to endure the, not having access to food or feeding the people that I care about opposed to myself, and still being able to operate and fight and do what needs to be done? So I'm still training. You said you still worked out. You did 2-a-days in the midst of it. So, it definitely requires you to adapt and be a little more strategic. Like, I did legs, jiu-jitsu, and a morning cardio session with light lifting yesterday for the first 24, and that was a long day.
Yeah, for sure.
That first full day, it really hit me. But you're 100% right, man. I feel like it's just kind of like you're used to it now. Like, it's so weird that you can go this long without eating, and you don't realize. It starts to open your mind, like, man, you are capable of so much more, and all it takes is that mental focus and just that mental clarity of like locking in. I feel a lot more mental clarity as well.
Yeah, I was actually on the drive here from the airport. Buddy of mine who's when I used to sell medical equipment, he's the rep out in this territory, and we're just catching up. And he's doing his third 72-hour one of the year, so he does it every couple months. And he was saying the same thing: the mental clarity that he's gone through and has. It's just kind of eye-opening, man.
Yeah.
And it really does. You reflect on a lot of stuff, and that was probably the most shocking thing, because I didn't expect that when I went into it. Wasn't, hey, I want to do this for that. And then once I got over that 46, 48-hour hump, man, I was just like, I could probably keep going a couple more days.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving came up, so obviously I had to
Yeah, no, there's no way all that food coming out. I'd do that.
Sure.
I think we're going to make this a family tradition, at least 72 hours after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Post-Thanksgiving meal, rip a quick 72-hour fast. It's a great reset. You're just eating mac and cheese, or we were the whole weekend and everything like that. So it feels phenomenal. I think I don't really care too much about the benefits. I imagine there's some tremendous benefits there, but my mom challenged us. So apparently she's done 5-day fast. I think 1 or 2 5-day fasts she's done.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there thinking, like, if mom, mother can do 5-day fast, you know, and this is definitely the strongest woman I know, but
sure.
I'm still thinking her, I'm like, my mom, you know what I mean? Like,
What triggered her to want to do it?
She's been working with a nutritionist for last year and a half. She's in the best shape of her life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Lost a significant amount of weight, healthiest she's ever been. And she had her building up to these fasts, 24, 48, 72, and 5-day fast. So I think once a quarter now, she said she does a 5-day fast and just kind of resets
Good for her.
everything. And, you know, she eats extremely healthy. And, you know, that's my number one dog right there, my mom. So
well, I see you always give homage to her on social media. It's cool to see that, man. It's in the world we live in and everything else, man. When you see that, you don't see it too often anymore.
I like to keep it simple.
Yeah,
you know
good
what
for
I
you.
mean? So
that's awesome.
Let's jump into born and raised, the past. Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, I grew up 30 minutes south of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So I grew up in
South Pitt.
Yeah, South Hills area.
Yeah.
Lived there my whole life, but I've fortunately through every career I've had prior to this, I was on the road every week.
Yeah.
Different territories. I used to sell medical equipment.
Yeah.
Did that for about 9 years, but you know, Pittsburgh's home.
Yes.
Will it be home forever? Probably not.
Yeah. Did you get engaged?
No.
Okay,
no.
I thought you got engaged.
No, I just wear a ring on the other hand. And when I take videos and stuff, people think that. No, single man. So I'm just trying to like keep growing the business, focusing on that stuff right now.
Okay.
And I think that will dictate where I end up landing too.
Yes, yeah.
The flexibility for my career and everything. And as we're trying to expand across the country, I can kind of come and go and be where I need to be.
Where are your parents from?
Both from Pittsburgh. My dad actually, he's got an interesting story. He hitchhiked to Oklahoma to go to college.
Okay.
His dad, I think, beat him pretty bad when he was young, and that was his kind of escape as far away as he possibly could. My mom grew up in the projects in Homestead, immigrant from Slovakia.
Oh, my mom's Slovakian.
Nice,
Czechoslovak, Dlabik,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, both parents from Pittsburgh for the most part, and been there my whole life.
That's awesome. And who were you closest with growing up, mom or dad?
Both of them in different capacities. Okay. My dad was very disciplinarian, you know, old school mentality. When you ran your mouth, you got beat, all that stuff. Yeah. Not saying that's the right or wrong thing. That's just what it was at that point. Yeah. I learned a lot from my dad just do what you say you're going to do, treat people the right way, work your ass off, because he was one of the hardest working people I've literally ever met. No sleeping in on the weekends. When I grew up, it was Saturdays. You're up at 7 o'clock to do yard work. Sunday, you go to church at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then you did yard work the rest of the day. And
Pittsburgh, old Pittsburgh dads love yard work,
dude.
You know what I mean? Like, how much yard work can we get done? You know what I mean?
Dude, there was always something to be done there.
My mom's dad was like that. Oh, just yard work. We move this here, move that. It's like, how many times are we gonna move this to there? Pull weeds all day.
Now that you say that, man, I realize we probably were just out there doing stuff to do stuff. Probably for his sanity more than anything. And my mom she would try to be the disciplinarian, but she's a soft mom and good heart and everything else. And so I have different relationships with each of them.
Yes.
Respect the shit out of both of them though, man.
Yes.
For sure. Very fortunate to have parents that cared the way that they did, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so obviously both of these individuals then shaped you into the man that you are today, or was there one that kind of influenced you into more of who you are?
I would say, you know, both of them definitely had a influence substantially on my life. I would say I take a lot after my dad. Yeah. And again, his character was just doing things the right way, always putting 100% of effort into something. Yeah. You know, when I started sports as a kid, if I started the season, there was no quitting midway. Yeah. Even if I hated this whatever activity, sport, you always finish through. So things like that have really stuck with me. And I was talking to my mom the other day actually, and she's like, you know, parents can do so much, but it's also on the kid to make the decision to continue their life and do it the right way. Yeah. So she was just giving me praise and my siblings praise. I'm very fortunate. They all do well for themselves. But you know, even with you know, you have a great mom and everything, but you're part of the credibility too. As you morph, there's a lot of influences out there that you can go one way pretty quickly. Absolutely. So I definitely think they've molded me, and I'm just proud that I listened to whatever levels I did and had the work ethic that I think some people were just instilled with. Yeah.
Did anything traumatic happen in life in general when you were growing up that also kind of altered the course of your life all the way up into about high school or college? Anything crazy happened that just kind of like life changed forever?
Yeah, but when I was 16, my best friend was killed in a car accident. Man, I still remember the day, the hour, the weather. getting the phone call when I was at work that she had been in a car accident and passed away. And that was something that changed my life at an early age. I was 16 when it happened. Man, and it was, I still think about it a lot. That was one of the most challenging things that I've ever been through. And it's still tough to talk about it because she meant so much to me, and still does, because I think she shaped a lot of my life too.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's one of those people that, out of all the people that would pass away, I don't want to say it was the right person to do it, but she impacted so many people. And I think she, in 16 years of life on Earth, she was able to impact so many more people than people do in an entire lifetime of 60, 70, 80 years. And, you know, so I think about her a ton still, especially when things are tough and you're going through different situations. You know, that was a huge impact for me. And then I had a lot of injuries, you know, playing sports. I broke my back in high school playing football.
Wow.
So I had to wear a corset for about 6 months to try to repair everything. I had a lower stress fracture. In college, I was hit head on a motorcycle. So I almost lost my life in college at 19 years old.
Wow.
So I've been through a handful of things that I look back and, man, whatever reason I got through those.
Yeah.
And I've appreciated life since 15, 16 years old, starting with that.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Duquesne University.
Duquesne.
Yeah.
Okay, so you stayed local.
Yep. I played football. I was chasing the whole NFL dream, man.
Yeah.
Had a couple Division I preferred walk-on opportunities.
Yeah. What position?
Strong safety.
Strong safety.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I ended up playing at Duquesne, and then when I got to school, dude, I just partied, and I barely graduated. Sophomore year at a 0.4, 0.6. I was almost kicked out of college for grades and for fighting and stuff like that. I just was rowdy and rambunctious, man, and just enjoyed life too much.
Did you get a bachelor's degree?
I did, yes.
And then was that in like biology?
It was in marketing, and then I had a minor in sports marketing.
And so just when you get into med sales, do they just want to see a bachelor in general?
For the most part.
Yeah.
Actually, so I got into medical. Right when I graduated, I took a job at Federated Investors, and I was trying to move to New York City, go to Wall Street and sell stocks and bonds, all that, mutual funds, all that. Went to Federated Investors, failed my Series 7 twice. Second time, they just fire you right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So 3 months after school, was working there for 3 months, lost my job, and ended up getting a call from a guy that played football with me in college.
Yeah.
And he was doing medical sales, and it was some startup company, and they had an opening.
Yeah.
And it was my foot in the door of getting into medical sales. So it was kind of a poorly run business and company, but I knew that if I got in, I could use their name from credibility on my resume standpoint. Traveled the country. I'd covered 38 states.
Wow.
So there's 4 reps, and we divided the country into 4s, and at the northwest of the country. So Alaska, Washington, Arizona, Arkansas, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming. Man, I was 22, 23 years old every Monday on a flight out west. It was just the coolest experience ever.
That's sweet.
So I got the travel right out of the gate. I got the independence right out of the gate. And I think that's what also propelled me in career-wise is I saw the opportunity of so many people and living that type of life versus having to go to an office somewhere and be stuck somewhere every day. It was just different.
Yeah.
You know, it was a cool experience.
And so 22, you're doing med sales. And how long did you work with the first startup med company?
Yeah, so I did that for about 13 months.
Okay.
And then I was fired from my second job. So 2 for 2, losing my job. It was just more of they got rid of all the sales reps except the one guy that, my buddy that was still there. He became like the national sales rep or whatever. Yeah. And was unemployed for about 3 months.
Is he still there?
No, he left a while. He's at Stryker now. So
everyone does Stryker. Anytime I meet a med rep, they're Stryker.
They got a nice setup, man. They got it's a lot of work for sure.
Yeah.
Pretty heavy grind, early morning stuff, ORs, all that, and but it's a great place to be if you can get in there for sure.
Yeah.
So he left to go there, but after that I ended up getting another job where I sold contact lenses. So I would sell to local optometry practices in the Western PA up to like Erie, down to Washington, PA, kind of that 2-hour corridor of Western PA. So I did that for about 2 years, and my goal was, man, once I hit that 3-year mark on my resume in medical sales, I was going to try to make the big push for our big boy job where you sell medical device, make some decent money. And I was about 26, going on 27 when I landed my next job, which I sold cameras and lasers to eye surgeons. Okay. So I used the networking that I had in the optometry space, leveraged that, had an interview process with a pretty large company, ended up landing that job. And I think I was the youngest sales rep that they had at that company by
Wow.
a handful of years. And I remember going to my first conference out in Chicago, actually, at the convention center. And everybody, you know, I was 28, 27 at the time for the first conference. Everybody was 40, 50, 60 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a very humbling. And like the first time I was like, damn, these people get it.
Yeah.
They get the game, the way they look, the way they dress, the way they act.
Yeah.
It was a powerful, eye-opening experience for me when I first took that job.
That's crazy. So you go from 28 years old, you're selling the lasers.
Yep.
Where do you go next?
Yeah, so I did that for about 4 years with that same company. Ever since I graduated college, I always had a side hustle and a side job.
Yeah.
Where I was trying to build something and make something. So right out of college, I ended up selling neckties to golf courses. So I would go golfing all over the country.
Yeah.
And I realized that no pro shops sold neckties.
Yeah.
So I ended up just basically starting a business where we made custom neckties, sold them to pro shops. And so that was happening simultaneously as I was building everything else. And then it just kind of ventured into, I was buying custom suits in Chicago and New York. And the guy in Chicago, who he passed away at like 40, 41, had a heart attack, I believe. But I was never happy with the product. So
Yeah.
I just decided to come home one day and say, I think I could build or at least teach myself how to make suits better than they could.
Yeah.
And that was really the only reason I started diving into it. And my goal was, could I get a couple free suits a month and just pay for my wardrobe? And that's all I had any anticipation on doing.
So when did you get into, like, what age were you when you got introduced into actually developing your own suits then?
I was I'm 38 right now, so probably 32-ish, 31.
And did you completely exit from the laser selling?
No, so I got 2016, 2015. I was at my company for 4 years.
Okay.
And the writing was at the wall. Was on the wall. I could kind of see that I was going to lose my job if
Yeah.
performance started fading.
Yeah.
So I ended up saying, you know what, I'm going to leave this company and go to a competitor of mine because I didn't want to leave on bad terms with
Yeah.
my boss. I liked them. They were great people. So I jumped to a competitor of mine. My goal was stay there for a year, maybe 2 years, and then float off and just do my thing on full time. April of 2016, they started looking into my cell phone record and realized I was traveling when I wasn't supposed to be traveling, running around. So they ended up firing me April 1st of 2016. And that's when I just decided, like, hey, man, I'm far enough down the road.
Yeah,
Let me
just went all in.
Yeah, I built a house, paid off a student loan of about $110,000, and then I lost my job all within the same year, so I had no cash. I was living paycheck to paycheck at that time, even though I was making a boatload of money.
Yeah.
The only money I had saved up was my 401k.
Yeah.
So I called my financial advisor and just told him, like, hey, man, I got to pull this. Like, I'm giving it all in and see what I could do.
Yeah.
It was about $180,000. Paid the 15% tax.
Yeah, they hit you.
They hit you with the early pull of the money. And, thought it would last me 2-3 years. And it lasted
2-3 months.
Yeah, it was quick, man. Way quicker than I thought.
Yeah.
Hit rock bottom in 2017.
Yeah.
Lost everything. My bank account was negative $86.40.
Yeah.
Didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And we just kind of kept scraping by and collecting money that was owed to us. And little by little started kind of turning the wheel and turning the corner. And you know, fortunately, we're doing very well now.
Like that, I wonder when I met you. 2017 is when I graduated high school and I started selling life insurance.
Okay, so it had to be right after that, right?
Yeah, I was
pretty
gonna say,
early.
pretty, because you've been around for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've been around for a while now, so that's insane. So 2017, you hit rock bottom. When did you guys do your first? What was the first milestone for you?
I would say. I think for us, milestones were different from a standpoint of what we considered success for us.
Yeah, you define it differently.
Yeah, so in the beginning stages for us, it was we were working out of my house. I had 2 employees at the time. I'd be sitting at home one day and I'd hear the garage door open. I was like, oh shit, someone's coming in. They have a fitting with a client.
Yeah.
So I'd go upstairs and I'd go in my office and I'd hide until the fitting was over. I'd come back down. So I ended up getting a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, turned that into a mobile showroom.
Yeah.
And instead of getting a storefront for thousands of dollars a month, I would just park that my Sprinter van in Market Square.
Yeah.
Pop it up at 8:45 in the morning, open the side door. We had a TV on the inside. I put a table in there and I'd watch ESPN and have people walk by and we'd grab them in and do fittings in the van.
Wow.
So that was a cool milestone for me. And then January of 2020, we ended up getting our shop opened up and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
But just getting our first pseudo storefront location was a pretty big milestone for us. And then when we hit our first million was probably a pretty cool milestone. A couple years back, it was interesting because you get so close and then you're still so far from that number.
Yes.
And then when January happens, you're rebooting the year and you're like, shit, now we have to do it again. Yes. And then you get a little closer thinking you were going to blow it away earlier than you did. And you realize how much it takes to put it in.
It takes so much.
And now we're doing, a few $1 million a year now, which is awesome. It's humbling to look back and see those days, man, because you dream for this success and you dream for this future. And then when you get there, you realize you just shift that goal line further down the path.
I feel like I've bought a couple custom suits from different. I've done Indochino. Yep. I bought a custom suit from some individual in Nebraska, very nice man. And then I've got a couple pieces from you. And now I do all my work through you.
Thank you, man.
When it is exquisite events, you know what I mean? I'm still on the come up, you know what I mean? I'm not like my man here. Sometimes I rock the Indochinos.
That's all right.
Which is a good cheap starter for those of you out there. You want to start a little cheaper or something like that. Or just, hit some of these guys up and negotiate, you know what I mean? Yep. I bet they have some negotiation packages as well, because they remember the come up as well. But I can remember buying from this gentleman, and I don't think he does it anymore, and it makes me think I feel like every industry out there, it's not like, because I look at, building custom suits and clothing, and you've gotten into, it looks like everything now, from the head to toe, you do it. And I'll look at it and I'm like, man, maybe that's just a very unique business and very few individuals do that. And I start to think, and I'm like, I think a lot of people try to do, custom suits. And I feel like it might be easy to get into, like selling life insurance, but it's hard to stay into.
For sure.
And so what are your thoughts on, is that something that, what's the success ratio with, building a custom suit company?
No, I appreciate that. It's funny. I had three employees all leave to try to do their own thing.
Yeah, let's go do our own thing.
Yeah, and one of them.
that story.
One of them you probably would know. We'll talk offline.
Yeah.
But it was very humbling. So this is a funny story. He worked for me. He was living in Morgantown at the time.
Yeah.
And former WVU football player. And he had said to me, he didn't do a great job working with us. And I could tell he was trying to take shortcuts on certain things.
Yeah.
We ended up walking away, and this was probably 2017 timeframe, so it was pretty early. And we had a disagreement, obviously. Then I find out he was going behind my back, started his own suit company.
Yes.
I was like, all right, cool. Not going to say anything. You know that I know, and we're good at that.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it there. In a year, we'll see who's still going, and that's kind of my challenge at that point.
Yes.
And I ran into him getting on an airplane flying to Tampa Bay probably a year or two ago.
Yeah.
He came up to me and said, hey, I just want to apologize.
Yeah.
He goes,
that's a good man for that.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that's a good man
and I
for
don't
that.
hold grudges. I could care less. And I said, first of all, I appreciate you saying that.
Yes.
No bad feelings towards you whatsoever. He goes, I'll tell you this. He goes, I thought it was going to be super easy to get this going. And he goes, it was one of the hardest things that I ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
And that happened probably with two other people at some point. And I think that's a big reason why I'm so open about sharing with my team the business, because you're not going to beat me.
Yeah, man. Open playbook, because I've been the last month, all I've been saying to everybody is anything great is never easy.
Yeah.
And anything easy is never great. You know what I mean? So when it comes to investing and different things like that, I love the media and different things like that. And I got these kids in here, and I'll look at them like, man, that's got to be the easiest thing to make $1 million in. And then I think back to insurance, and I'm like, no, it wasn't. You know what I mean? So there are so many similarities in regard to making $1 million. And outside of you getting on YouTube and making $1 million, even then you dissect those guys' stories and it's 10 years. It's like there's a lot of similarities when it comes to success. And it's that 5 or 10 years of just grind and just eating stuff you don't want to eat. You know what I mean? For lack of better language. But you're eating ramen, you're eating the bottom of the barrel. And if you can do that for long enough. I read a quote earlier today, and it was, excellence is the capacity to endure pain. So excellence is your capacity. How much pain can you endure, and how long can you endure? And I was like, that's so fire, because everybody might look at David Allen's making suits. I can go make suits, and I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, jujitsu. My jujitsu coach does the same thing. He's like, he'll train somebody up. They'll work with him for a couple of years. They'll get decent at jujitsu.
Yeah.
And they'll look at him and they'll be like, he charges $100 a month. Maybe 30, 40, 100 people come here. This is an easy 10 grand. This is an easy 100 grand, a month. And then they go out and start their own. And he's like, time and time again, get that call. And it's not like, we're special that we can go out and go do our own thing. but at the same time, we are special.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the specialty isn't a secret. It's not a secret clothing material. It's not a secret clothes. It isn't that you had some secret network access that like somebody just handed you John Cena.
Yep.
It's like, dog, at the end of the day, it's the ability to endure the pain. Because like everybody wants the crown and everybody wants like everything you got going on now, but it's like, would they trade places with you the first 3 years? I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's what I love about the stories and the success and seeing you blow up, because it's like, I can relate. You know, I don't do suits, but, the insurance, it's like, built up the first 3 years was built up, and essentially I was, like your boy out there in West Virginia. Now, luckily, Simon partnered with me and didn't send me out on my own, because I don't think I got the just with my youthfulness and my spending, I don't know if I would have survived. But partnering with Simon and coming out here I started over. So in the start over process, it's like I relived the first 3 years, these last 3 years, and it's just now looking like we're looking up. So it's like there's a lot of money coming in, but it's the same deal, like check to check, all the money back in. So.
Yeah, I mean we're getting ready to open up another location in March, and it's $200,000 build out.
Yeah.
I'm not taking a loan out. I'm paying that out because I don't want to have debt on my business.
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, 2 years ago, I'm debt free.
Yes.
So it's like, could I take a loan out and do that? Yeah. And could I run a business that way? A lot of businesses do that, but I'd rather we're doing very well. We're cash flow positive. I have the money.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back into owing people money. I don't want to go into
it's
debt.
the worst.
But I think to what you said, man, I've been following your journey since I met you, and it's been awesome to see. And I try to see what similarities do I see in you that I see in myself, and do I see in Simon and other individuals as well. And I'm getting to a point where I've had people say, "Oh, I thought David Allen, I thought his parents gave him money, or this dude didn't do this on his own." I heard that recently, which is cool. I don't care. Perception is what it is to whoever the person is. But now that I'm starting to see people think things and forget about the beginning story for me, I actually take that as a compliment.
It's a massive compliment.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But man, even coming out here, dude, getting a rental car 5 years ago, I remember going to LA trying to get a rental car. If the rental car was more than $25 a day, and that was before COVID, so it was before the craziness. But man, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I'd go there and my credit card would be maxed out, and they would say, "Well, you have to use your debit card."
Yeah.
And then I had to show them my flight information, because if you use a debit, you have to show them the flight you're leaving on and everything else. And the fear and the embarrassment I would have to go to every counter at an airport hoping my credit card wasn't maxed.
The best customer service people are the ones that come back with your card when it declines. They're like, "Something's wrong with our system. Can we just try another card?" I don't think it's not you. It's us. But it's not working with this card. Let's try with them. Like,
For sure.
Man, I love those people. I'm like, "You're so awesome. I know this is maxed out. Try this one." You know what I mean? I'm like, "Here, try it." I usually sometimes I'll hand like you really grinding. I'll hand them 2 or 3. Like, "Yo, just run one of these. See which one comes back."
Yeah.
Just cross my fingers. You know what I mean?
Bro, that was probably one of the most humbling and humiliating experiences as well. But it keeps you grounded, and it just says, I'm not gonna be here for long.
Yeah.
And this is a stage that I signed up for with trying to be an entrepreneur, and I accept that.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not mad at the person at the counter. I'm not mad at myself.
Yeah.
These are things that I had to do in order to get to myself where I want to go.
I always tell my guys, like, you're gonna miss these days when they come in and you're a grunt. You're just an agent. You're just making calls. You don't have a team. You don't have a business. You don't even know how to sell any business on your own. Do you find yourself missing the grunt days when you were just trying to figure everything out? Like, obviously maybe not the actual, I don't know, product and outcome and income that was transpiring, but the nostalgia and the feeling and like when you think back, like for me, I think back to those beginning days, and the song that comes to mind, because I listened to it a lot when I was door knocking and it was 1 a.m. and I was on the way back home. I'd think of Night Moves from Bob Sager.
Yeah.
So like that's my like song that I think back and I'm like, I miss the energy and the vibe of the come up. Do you find yourself thinking back, like now that you're at a different level? There's problems at every level. I think people think like you're going to hit a certain level. Listen, millions, billions, it don't matter. There's problems at every level. Poor, billions, there's problems at all those levels. Do you find yourself missing and thinking back and reflecting?
Do I miss them? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Do I reflect on them every day?
Yeah.
Especially the biggest thing is just when I travel, because I was so restricted, man. It was trying to travel the country on an absolute budget.
Yeah.
And now I can stay where I want to stay. I could rent whatever car I want to rent. But it also keeps me hungry and knowing that I got to keep that. And to your point of different stages, man, like spend a couple $100,000 on a remodel job that, you know, we got to put that money back in the company as well. So there's just different problems financially that you have at different stages. Cause you know, we're looking at expanding to a third location in Pittsburgh. We want to do a North Hills. And then we want to open up a Fort Lauderdale location as well. Everything's going to be predicated off of how we do in Mount Lebanon, which is our new location. It's our first crack at retail. So, you know, we're getting ready to go into a whole different expansion opportunity. And, you know, these are going to be different problems that I don't know of.
Do you foresee yourself future-wise franchising out? I was talking to my boss, Mr. Zoffin, and I was, you know, I told him I watched the movie The Founder.
Yeah, great
movie. Would that play into what you do at all, or?
So what I'm trying to do is, and I think you operate the same way, man, is like I feel very fortunate to be in the position that I am, and I want to take care of everybody along the way. Bro, if I could put a van outside and have 50 people in the back and we're all doing this shit together, like I would love that. Now, you know, the mindset of everybody isn't going to be there. There's going to be very few that make that. So I guess what I start to what was the question again?
So could you see yourself, you know, you 10x from now? You know what I mean? Let's say next 24 months you 10x. Would it be viable for you to franchise and just start opening up like little partnerships?
Yeah, so actually that's what I was getting at. So we're actually just brought a dude in Massachusetts who's going to start working for us. Our goal is get him for 6 months to a year, and then I'm going to start creating businesses in different parts of the country. So we'll call it David Allen, Massachusetts. We're, with our Fort Lauderdale location, it's going to be a pseudo franchise model. I don't want to go full franchise model because I want to be involved heavily, and I want to take a majority of the piece of the pie because I worked my ass off to be in this spot. So for the Fort Lauderdale location, I want to have an owner-operator where I give them 3 to 5 years when we have these benchmarks that they'll have equity once we hit that mark. So I'm kind of taking a hybrid model approach, so it's not true franchise, but I'm going to create different businesses under the David Allen brand in different areas where I give piece of the equity away.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, Krista's the perfect example. She works with me. She's been with me about 4.5 years now.
Is that the longest you got?
It's the longest. Alvin, who was with me when I first started, was there about 3 years. She eclipsed that. You know, she makes $250, $260 a year selling suits. Her life has changed drastically. We launched another business. It's our online business where we're selling stretch suits for $5.99.
I love all the stretch. Guys, I have a stretch shirt on right now from David Allen. And it's the only shirts I wear is your stretch shirts. I've got a thick neck. I don't know if that's like it, but just the overall material. I don't know if you're anything like me. I don't know if you should do this, but I rewear. I'll rotate. I'll do a black shirt and a white shirt and rotate. I'll do my white shirt Monday. So like what I'm saying is they don't smell either. You know what I mean? So I'll get 2-3 wears out of a suit before I dry clean it. So and I just dry clean everything, and I've never had an issue with my Indochino. There's a little seam at the back pocket. They'll rip. The Indochino pants will rip, but never had that with my David Allen gear.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Good to hear,
man. It's just impeccable because typically I feel like people will get into something and again they'll shortcut but I know you genuinely care. I can tell by like you wear all your stuff. I got clothes. You know what I mean? I got hoodies that I do. I don't really even be wearing them. I'll be wearing other hoodies. I'm like, man, this hoodie don't even feel like I'm wearing the Nike hoodie. And you know, it really shows that you care about the product and everything like that, and I love it. You know what I mean?
Appreciate
I hope
that,
you get my neck remeasured while you're out here because I think my neck got bigger. But yeah, dude, it's incredible everything you've accomplished and just with building the relationships. I saw you do a fashion show every year. Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah,
dude.
we were pumped, man. And, we were hoping that Cena was going to pull up as well. We were working on some stuff with him. But Wiz ended up coming through. We're going to end up doing a collaboration at some point here soon.
That'll be a sick suit. I could see it now.
I'm pumped, man.
Black and gold suit.
I'm pumped. We're going to do some cool stuff. It's just the fashion show gets bigger and bigger every year.
Every year, dude.
We raised about $75,000 for Ryan Shazier's charity.
That's awesome.
Next year, we actually already picked a charity. We're doing it for the Alexis Joy Foundation.
Wow.
Which is for with Allegheny Health Network and for women who battle postpartum depression.
Yes, yeah. That's Nat D, right?
Yeah. Her brother, Steven, is...
I love him.
Just one of the greatest human beings ever.
He's such a good heart.
Yeah, so we're going to do the partnership next year with them, and we're going to do it bigger next year.
That's insane.
We're pumped, man.
You got to come out doing it in Chicago once. I'm gonna come to Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? It's about time. I gotta
never
come.
been, right?
I haven't been, dude.
Bro, you have to come through.
Yeah, I don't even feel like a loyal fan right now.
No, you
know
should.
what I
You should
mean?
definitely come through.
So, and you know, with I want to talk. How did you land the Wiz Khalifa?
So I've been doing work with his manager, Will Dlabik, for a handful of years. Will walks in the fashion show.
Yep.
And then a couple of the other guys, Fed the God, who's coming up real well in Taylor Gang. He's become a great friend, great client of mine as well. And, you know, Will's been trying to connect me and Wiz for a long time.
Yeah.
And it just fortunate timing worked out.
That's insane,
to
man.
be
Good for
there.
you.
And we're going to probably head out there in the springtime for me to go to Wiz's house with Will.
Yeah.
And then we'll just kind of sit down and
Does
collaborate.
he keep a Pittsburgh house?
He
then?
does, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, his mom still lives out in Pittsburgh. And
That's
then,
awesome.
And then he's in LA for the most part.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what does your next 5-10 years look like for you?
Yeah, so we're at a point now where the next 5 to 10 years are going to be dictated heavily based off of what happens with our second location.
Yes.
We're going to decide moving forward before we expand. Are we going to go retail or are we going to stay by appointment only, which allows us to run a lot more lean as a business?
Yeah.
So we can get a inexpensive office somewhere in a different city, appointment only, and we book people to come in and out as they please. This test for the retail location, which I think is going to go very, very well for us. That's probably what's going to say, okay, we're going to do retail moving forward for the next 5 or 6 locations.
Yeah.
But I want to be in 6 to 10 locations across the country in the next 5 years or so.
What about international? I feel like your relationships are starting to. You got to be international with your relationships.
Yeah, we're getting there, man. We fortunately we're one call away from almost anybody in the world.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
I just connected with Jeff Hamilton, who makes the crazy leather jackets for a lot of celebrities and athletes. Started talking to some people for some fashion stuff in Paris, and at some point I think that's on the radar for us.
Yeah,
man. I really do. And what's happening for us right now is every couple months something big kind of pops up on our lap, and we make a decision. Hey, do we want to do this or not?
Yeah.
We just had an opportunity to be business partners with Cena.
That's awesome.
And we walked away from the opportunity for now. We may revisit that down the road. It was just something I wasn't ready to give up a piece of the pie.
Could you imagine 6 years ago saying you're going to walk away from a business deal with John Cena?
It's crazy. Yeah.
You know what I love about him is from all these WWE guys that have transitioned or tried to transition into acting, he's gotten really good at acting.
He's so good, bro.
He's got a show. I don't know if you watched it, Peacemaker.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I've been dying for it to come back. The comedy and dude. I'm impressed because usually it's like, I know you got to act WWE, but like, I don't know. The Rock's acting is not like John Cena's acting, man.
The first couple movies that John did, they were good.
Yeah, they were good.
But they were just like enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, you're right.
Peacemaker was the start of a lot of like, damn, he really is very talented at what he does.
Extremely, and you can tell he's dedicated. I heard he knows Mandarin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he probably knows. If he knows Mandarin, he's got to know at least another language as well.
I would assume so.
Yeah. So that's incredible, and I think I've asked you about that before. A humble guy as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
he's probably one of the most genuine human beings that I've ever met.
Yeah.
I took Krista down there to meet with him and his wife. We started doing clothing for his wife as well. And we're very excited. We got some cool suits coming out for her, which is awesome. But he is...
I love female suits.
They're so sick. Not enough females wear them.
Yeah.
Man.
I
it's
love
such a
female
statement.
suits. Yeah, it's such a statement. It's an incredible statement.
Yeah, for sure. And he was so humble and so respectful of Krista whenever she came down there. And he's by far, man, one of the greatest people I've ever met. He's just a genuine human being.
That's awesome.
He really is, man. It's pretty cool to see that.
Obviously, I know we mentioned before, living, that's going to be dictated based off of the success of the next door, where you're going to live.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where you see yourself going. But what if it blows up and you start popping off more locations, where could you see yourself? What state, what location, where could you see yourself?
Yeah, I like being on the east side of the country just to get home easier. You know, 2-hour flight to Florida, 2.5-hour flight. Yeah. I still have nieces and nephews back in Pittsburgh, which really keeps me there.
Sense. Yep.
You know, they're 8 and under, and there's 5 of them. So it's just it's getting to that fun age with them.
Yeah.
Family's very important to me, and so I definitely want to always have a home in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I want to be around. I could see myself in Lauderdale or Tampa or something.
Summers in
Sarasota.
Pittsburgh, winters in Sarasota is awesome.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's one of the wealthiest zip codes in Florida.
Yeah.
There's Sarasota's insane.
I've probably spent the last 7 years, majority of the winters in different parts of Florida.
Yeah.
And we have a ton of clients down there. So for us, that's why we're opening a location there. It just makes
Smart.
sense.
Yeah.
Then the tax breaks don't hurt.
Yeah.
You know, being a resident there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could see Florida being on the radar. Nashville's a beautiful town.
Yep, like Nashville.
I don't know, man. I'm literally at a point where I'm